Hey guys, it is your girl Randy and I'm back with another video. And so I just want to explain some things to you that Heavenly Father was showing me, and then I also wanted to answer some questions that you guys also had as well. And so I've been getting a lot of questions from you guys who watch me, and basically God has been leading you and guiding you to give prophetic messages, and you just kind of want to know, how do I hear from God? You know, how is God giving you prophetic messages and things such as that? And so pretty much, if you guys haven't seen the video, I put out a video and I believe it's in a playlist, Spiritual Gifts versus Talents. And so God gives, spiritual gifts, and then he also gives out talents as well. And so some of us will be talented in certain, areas in life. But also don't forget that some people do get talents, just by practicing. So you don't have to be, saved or a Christian to be talented at something. And so I explained that like a lot more in depth in that video. So if you haven't watched it, go back and check it out. But I also explained spiritual gifts as well. And so how I hear from God is I do have the spiritual gift to be able to see in the spirit and to be able to hear in the spirit as well. And is this just something that happened overnight? Absolutely not. If you guys haven't checked it out, you can check out my book, Surviving 7 Years of Silence. And in my book, I explain, my life journey and how from a very young age, before I even realized it or before I even knew, I had always had the gift to see things and to see dreams and see visions, but I didn't, know how to really tap into that spiritual gift. Really, I thought, I was just having dreams. I just thought it was regular. I didn't know that it was something, spiritual and extraordinary that God was doing through me. And so naturally, I had always had this gift. And so you'll know if you always had, the gift to see. For me, for example, when I was young, just toddler, I was able to see things in spirit and see things through visions. And I didn't know that I was seeing in the spirit. I didn't know that I was having visions. And I naturally, whatever I seen, I could draw it. And so I was really good at drawing from a very young age. And I was able to draw anything that I seen. And so, that was one way as I reflected back on my life and, my journey. And, once I came into relationship with Christ, God helped develop my spiritual gifts even more. And so as I got closer to God, I want to say back in 2018 is when I decided to get baptized and just go on this spiritual journey with God. And I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to know, who he was. I always was raised up in the church, and, I would always go to church with my grandma, and she would always make sure that we were in church. But although, I talk about it in my book as well, so I really encourage you guys to get it. But although I was raised up in the church, the church didn't really, help with training in spiritual gifts. And I was just so young, I wasn't really receptive and understanding of, going to church. I just remember my grandma serving. She would every Sunday make pancakes for the whole entire church. We would get up really early, get dressed, and she would cook for the whole entire church. So after service, everybody had breakfast to eat. And so that was that was always my highlight, was eating my grandma's homemade pancakes at church and, just being in fellowship with other believers. But, as I got older, once my grandma had passed away, I really, really, really wanted to seek God and know God more for myself, because I had seen how she was just always like a really happy person and just like always willing to serve, always willing to help. And I wanted to know like why she was the way she was, and why she always talked about God, and why she loved God so much, and why she was just a loving, kind, generous person. She used to like cook food for anybody who came to her door and asked for a plate. They would just be able to knock on her door and she would give them food. She would give them a whole big old plate of food. Like, she was so courteous, so kind, so loving, so caring. And I wanted to know, like, I don't want to say her God, but in a way, like, yeah, I wanted to know, like, who she served, like, why she served God, why she was so happy, why she was so loving, why she was so generous, why she was so kind, why she always prayed. And so I got baptized in 2018, and that's when I first started to seek God. And as I was seeking Him, I still wasn't fully trained in my spiritual gifts. I, would still have dreams. Things would still happen. I talk about it a lot in my book, and I just really encourage you guys to check it out, because I don't want to give all of it away and talk too much about it. But over the course of time, I just, continued to seek God's face. I continued to read my Bible. I continued to spend time with Him through praise and worship. I would always buy journals, and I would write in them and talk to Him every single day, like as if I was writing, in a diary, but I would be talking to God. And I would buy journals. I would give them out to people that had like Bible scriptures and stuff on them. And I would just give it out to people for free or for birthday gifts and stuff like that, because I just really genuinely, wanted to be pleasing in the sight and in the eyes of God. I wanted Him to be happy with me, because I had just gone through so much in life. At a very young age, I was taken from my mother and my father, so I kind of grew up sort of like an orphan. I was bounced around from house to house, home to home. I didn't really have stability growing up. I didn't have my mom and dad always there because of me getting separated and taken from them. And so I had a really, interesting journey. And so because of everything that I had experienced, because of everything that went on and happened in my life, it made me want to seek God more, because I didn't understand why all these things were happening to me that seemed so bad in my eyes, which I know now was for a greater and a bigger purpose. And ultimately, as I continued to seek God, I went through trials, tests, and tribulations. Like, it didn't just happen overnight. Like, I was so hungry for a relationship and wanting to know God. I would go to 2 services a day. I would give out like journals. I even started a business, all for God. I originally had like a clothing store, and I would do drop shipping, and I was like selling clothes and stuff like that. And I talk about it in some of my other videos too. And God was like, I just know, like, when you hear God's voice, He has a soft, still voice, and God is always talking. It's just up to us if we, are willing to be quiet enough to hear Him, because that's why He gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, because we should always be listening more than we are talking. So I was very, quiet from a very young age, always watching and looking and just paying attention and hearing what other people had to say. And that's another way that I was able to hear God's voice and just get to know Him better, as I was constantly seeking Him. And so I just constantly kept seeking Him. And most importantly, when I knew that it was God talking to me, because you have to know, like, God has the fruit of the Spirit. And so God's not going to tell you to do anything that is contrary to His word. And if He does, it's normally for a bigger purpose or a bigger reason. But when you're starting off in relationship with Him, he's not, I don't, like, you'll know. He's just not going to have you just do something super bizarre or crazy. I'm not saying that he doesn't do, you know, some things like that. Like with Abraham, he told him to use his son as a sacrifice. And so that's something crazy that we wouldn't believe. But it didn't just start off like that. Like, he slowly, like, works, you know, up to that. At least that's what I've seen in my journey. And even in the Bible, like, I believe that's what happens too, like, all throughout, you know, different people in the Bible, you know, with Joseph, with Abraham, with Jeremiah. If you haven't read the book of Jeremiah, I would recommend you reading that, because Jeremiah started hearing and seeing from God at a very young age too. And so I would just study the book. Again, study to show thyself approved. It's what the Bible says. And so as you're seeking God and you're studying and your heart actually wants to be closer to him, like, God knows, and he says, draw near to me and I'll draw near to you. And so God's always there. It's just a matter of us wanting to be closer to him, to get, you know, to know him more, to get prophetic messages from him, to learn more about him and what he likes, what he doesn't like. And God is amazing, and it's always more so about having a relationship. It's always about having a relationship. And, you know, when you're in a relationship with someone, what do? You spend time with them. You get to know them. You ask them questions. You are patient with them. And that's how, the same way it is with God. Like, you just really get to know him. You take time out your day with him. You talk to him all the time. Like, even if you're not, like, saying it out loud, eventually you will get to a point to where it becomes so natural to where, like, you will be talking out loud, and people will probably think, like, who is she talking to? Who are they talking to? And you'll be talking to God, like, the whole entire time. And it's just part of relationship, like, spending time with him, like you would with your friend or a family member or, you know, your significant other. Like, you just spend time with God the same exact way. And so I don't want to go off on a tangent or, like, make this video too long, but I wanted to answer your guys' questions and the best way possible, and just share a little bit of my journey with you guys. If you'd like to know more, like, again, check out my book, Surviving 7 Years of Silence, and I go over my journey personally, just things and trials and tribulations that I've been through in my own life. The book is available for pre-order through Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It is available worldwide. The book will be officially released on January 23rd, so I believe in, like, a couple days. But you can go to abundanceservices.org and you can get your copy early if you'd like to get it sooner, and we will definitely make sure that we get this book out to you. But if you want to know more about just seeing in the spirit, my journey, the trials and tribulations, like, check out the book. I talk about it more in depth, and just a lot of things that I went through and how I was getting closer to God, how I seek God, and just different things like that. And so I do pray that this message blesses you guys. I love you. Be blessed, and I'll be back with another video. Bye, guys. And one last thing. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been sowing seeds, and I really appreciate it. I thank you so much to everyone who has been continuing to sow seeds into this channel and this ministry. I definitely pray over every single seed. And so if you have sown a seed and you're not leaving, like, you know, anything in the comment, like, definitely leave something in the comment, because I do pray over the seeds as well that are received. And so I want to make sure that if you want, like, a specific prayer or something for me to pray for you, you don't have to sow a seed for that. You can even just email me at abundanceministryofgod@gmail.com, and I will take prayer requests, testimonies, or anything like that. But if you are sowing a seed and you would like me to say anything specific in prayer, please put it in there as well. And again, I love you guys. Be blessed. I'll be back with another video, Elohim willing. Bye, guys.